So yeah, you want to talk about this freaking edit that you haven't seen all of yet?
I watched half of it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
chat, there's like a Kenobi edit going around. A man, Patterson.
Yes, Kai Patterson.
Kai
So if you
Patterson.
go to where you
I
can,
don't think we can advertise
I
that.
mean, there's maybe stuff on there. You know, there might be that might be a thing.
Yeah.
But
Anyways,
yeah.
he made a Kenobi edit and
Mhm.
he chopped out all of the slow parts that don't really need to be in the show. And I watched half of it. Josh watched the full thing. Okay, Josh, go for it.
Oh man, I'm so okay. So first of all, chat, you gotta do me a favor, guys. We gotta use the power of the force, and we gotta bully theory into finishing this thing because I'm so hot on this edit, and you know, I get what you're saying as far as like that he removed stuff. And did you get? I see, like halfway through, it's kind of hard for me to tell where you're at in it. What's the like last thing or whatever that happened?
So I guess I'm not really halfway through. I guess
Okay.
I'm at I think I'm at episode 4.
Okay, so
Well, I guess no, that is halfway. That is, what am I saying? That is halfway.
Did you get to the part with Vader when he's with the fire and everything, and with Kenobi?
No, I'm not there yet. No.
Okay.
I'm on that level. I'm on that episode.
Okay, so like to me, like that's a really crazy part of it because he adds some stuff to that part, and it's just, you know, little things here and there, but he actually did, yeah, he does. And this was on his TikTok too, where he like did some modeling and puts a stormtrooper. He literally puts a little thing in there with a stormtrooper and Vader like saying something to the stormtrooper over the fire, and little things like that, that I think really elevated. And I think the dude did incredible work. So, you know, I was not very into the Kenobi show, right? It had like some good moments, and I was, you know, trying to get hyped up for those good moments, but overall,
right,
it didn't give me those feelings that I was looking for. And what Kai was able to do with this edit, with adding in the actual Star Wars music and the little like flares on some of the transitions, and you know, just cutting out a lot of the things that weren't needed and adding some things to help certain moments work. And particularly, I think at the ending, the whole reason I really want you to finish it is because of the ending, what he does in the final fight, and some of that stuff, because I think it's quite good. And it shows me a whole bunch of different things. I mean, first of all, it definitely works better as a film, and it has, you know, a pretty cool story overall for a movie. Like I was sitting back, like genuinely enjoying it, and also feeling like, yeah, a lot of this, because it was originally designed as a movie, obviously works much better in this format. On top of that, with the music, it just really adds like this level of feeling to it. Like particularly the moment when he finally reaches into the Force and catches Leia. That moment is edited so much better. And then with the Star Wars music that he uses in that moment, like, dude, like it swells and you feel epic, and you're just like, dude, like, let's go. And I didn't get any of that in that scene in the show, right? So to me, I feel like the edit's incredibly strong. It shows you how much editing can really change something. You know, you and I were just talking about this before we went live, but there's an edit of Rocky 4 that Stallone has apparently done. And from the research I looked into it, it's apparently just much better with just small little changes, like hanging on somebody's reaction just a little bit longer, cutting out certain, you know, elements that are lingering too long in the OG cut. Yeah. And it just shows like what that craft actually does for Star Wars. You know, of course, the classic, you know, I don't know what you would call this, but people say that the original Star Wars was saved in the edit, right? That George Lucas's OG wife came in, right?
Yeah,
and she like brings it all together in the edit. Anybody that's ever done YouTube, you know that it's the editing that really pulls together a video. So to see that just so clearly displayed, I think is cool. And it also just gave me this vibes, bro, of like that arturist filmmaker, like, because that's what George was. Like George was like an indie arturist filmmaker, and he just did things. I mean, he was a tinkerer. He did the special editions, you know, he's always going back and tinkering McClunky and everything, right? So it felt really Star Wars, not only the actual product, but the process by which we arrived at this place where this thing is out there, and it's blowing up right now. I think you guys should check it out if you got time. and it genuinely made me feel things that I did not feel watching Kenobi, and I'm really grateful for that, man. Like it was cool. So I can kind of live with maybe Kenobi season 2 as long as we get a Kai edit as well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So for me, it was definitely much more enjoyable. The little bit that I saw, which is about I think I'm in 45 minutes,
okay,
or maybe an hour at most. But yeah, it's definitely much more enjoyable. It flows better. But the only issue with doing an edit of something that you don't have additional footage of is that you go almost too fast.
Mm.
So it's like I would have it like hang a little bit on some certain parts, like where she, well, sorry, spoilers, where she beheads the
yeah,
the cantina guy, the owner.
Mhm.
I would have maybe like have it go to the Inquisitor, and he'd be like disgusted or angered with Riva or something like that.
Sure.
Just little things like that where like it
Yeah.
would cut too quickly, but it's like there's nothing he can do because he doesn't have the
Right.
raw footage. He only has like the edited thing, and he's editing an edit essentially. So the other thing is that with music, the nostalgic music, is that you have to be super careful where you use that stuff because it's almost like you're hitting it too hard on the head, in my opinion, where like you don't need to, for example, there were different moments where he had music from the prequels and music from the original trilogy, and I feel like he kind of came on too strong with those because he's trying to elicit, whenever you're trying to elicit emotion from the audience, I feel like you're forcing it.
Sure.
Like when he had Anakin turn to Obi-Wan, and then he had the flash of him on Mustafar and with the Sith Eye.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
well,
loved it.
you see, so I wasn't a fan of that because I was like, well, why did Obi-Wan's never seen that? Obi-Wan never saw that image. And then it's like, to me, it just kind of took me out because I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I already put that 2 and 2 together kind of thing. I don't need you to kind of do it for me. So
Interesting.
it
Okay.
almost like goes too far sometimes, I feel like. So if you're more subtle with it, like I think the Kenobi show, the way Deborah made it was not like it just didn't work for me. Like
Yeah.
the way she directed the music and everything.
So it's
And
hard to take that and
it's hard to take that and try to like spin it into something that's better. Because it's like, what are you working with right now?
Sure.
If it wasn't for Ewan's acting, I feel like it could have been, it's not really a great show.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm with you. I would just say, and I totally understand where you're coming from because that's fair because he's working from
an
what he
actual
has.
edit, right? Which
Yeah.
is
And there are
not much.
certain things for sure. There are certain things that like he couldn't really do, but there are some things that he does where he actually does modeling and brings in like that stormtrooper model and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, he's able to do that, but it's more restricted when it's actual actors, right? So he can't do that with Riva, because like what are you gonna do? Like AI I think eventually, by the way, you can, with like, like what if you look at what Shamook can do and deep fake like that, bro, like it's getting to the point where maybe in a couple of years he could absolutely do that and hang on emotions more and do stuff like that, right? Which is kind of wild. But that is true. But I think for me, the music, even though like I get what you're saying as far as like it comes on strong, because it definitely comes on strong, it also ultimately feels more like Star Wars than what we got with the show, because the show is almost like, I don't want to say like it's embarrassed of like its own history with the score, but it like doesn't embrace that like swelling. It certainly doesn't embrace like some of those little like the flute things when it like does a wipe or whatever. And those things just work for me, man. It could be nostalgia, like it absolutely could be, but it just totally works for me. So I absolutely get what you're saying, and I think that it's far from perfect. Like there is actually a couple harsh edits even in his version, which is just like it feels like he was like, "There's no way I can."
It's definitely an improvement.
Get around, but yeah,
and it's like the guy was so confined with what he was given, but I think it flows better. I think there was a lot of stuff in the Kenobi show that we didn't need to see, but again, it was written for TV.
Yeah.
So they're trying to sell the show. They're trying to extend certain scenes. They're trying to sell us on Riva so that they can make a backstory on her. And now they're doing like a crowdfunder for her lightsaber or something like that. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't think it's going well, right? Like
apparently not.